The financial index card is an idea that was created by Pollack back in 2013. In an effort to simplify his own personal finance habits, he wrote down 9 rules to follow on a standard 3x5 index card. Like many other people who want to take control of their finances, Pollack found the process to be very intimidating. By narrowing everything down to simple and easy to follow rules, he provided a clear path to financial success that absolutely anyone can follow. After taking a look at the rules on his financial index card, I found them to be a little outdated and even a little more complicated than necessary. So in this video, I want to share with you my new and improved version of the financial index card. To get us started, I'll give you a little more background on Pollack's financial index card and the rules he laid out. This way we can highlight the parts that I personally believe are a little redundant or unnecessary. Then I'll give you an in-depth walkthrough of my version of the financial index card. We'll dive into each of my 7 rules for personal finance and why they're so important. By the end of this video, you'll have a full understanding of the basic habits and investments you need to live a financially secure life and retire comfortably. If you like the idea of building your wealth, be sure to click subscribe, drop a like, and stick around. We gotta start with Pollack because I think he illustrates why the financial index card is such a powerful idea. He isn't a financial professional or a millionaire investor. He's a professor of public health at the University of Chicago. His motivation to find answers to his personal finance habits came when he and his wife encountered some financial hardships of their own. The problem for anyone in this situation is that there's a lot of conflicting advice out there. There are so many ideas for saving money, investing money, making money, etc., that it's hard to identify the essential habits among all the noise. So with a lot of research and advice, Pollack was able to hone in on 9 of the most important financial practices, which ultimately revitalized his financial health. He didn't start with millions of dollars or do anything inherently risky or lucky, which I think shows that financial success can really be attainable for anybody. But let's see what he has on his financial index card. Number 1 is max out your 401k or equivalent employee contribution. Number 2 is buy inexpensive, well-diversified mutual funds, and he mentions Vanguard target date funds specifically. Number 3 is never buy an individual security because the person on the other side of that transaction knows more than you do. Number 4 is save 20% of your money. Number 5 is pay your credit card in full every month. Number 6 is maximize tax advantage savings vehicles like IRAs. Number 7 is pay attention to fees and avoid actively managed funds. Number 8 is make your financial advisor commit to a fiduciary standard. And number 9 is to promote social insurance programs to provide help to others when things go wrong. So a lot of these rules have to deal with how and where you invest. But there's some overlap between them, so we're going to simplify and combine some of these rules on my financial index card. I'm also going to put them in order of importance so that you can start with number 1 and then proceed as you improve your financial health. So here's my financial index card. Number 1, pay off your credit card in full every month. Number 2, save up an emergency fund. Number 3, save 20% of your income. Number 4, don't pay anyone to manage your investments. Number 5, max out your tax advantage investment accounts. Number 6, invest in low-cost, well-diversified index funds. And number 7, give back. Now let's take a closer look at why my list shook out this way, starting with number 1, pay off your credit card in full every month. First, let's be clear, if you don't follow this rule, you will never be able to accomplish anything else with your finances. Credit card interest rates are absolutely absurd, with the average annual credit card APR sitting at about 19%. That means that the interest and debt on your credit card will grow faster than almost any investment you can make. To put this in perspective, the average annual return for the stock market is historically about 10%, so your debt will grow nearly twice as fast as an investment into the stock market would. And like stock market returns, your credit card debt will compound over time, so it can end up being really dangerous if you let it get away from you. And this is precisely why you cannot move on to these other rules before starting here. Because credit card debt grows so quickly, it makes more sense to pay off that debt before putting your money anywhere else. In other words, paying off your credit card debt will guarantee you instant returns on your money that are equal to your credit card interest rate. So if you have this debt, paying it off is step number 1. But if you don't have a credit card yet, congratulations on being 1 step ahead. Still, don't let this warning scare you away, because credit cards can actually be very powerful for your finances. When used responsibly, they can help you build a strong credit score and even earn you some extra money. If you're interested in getting started, you can check out the video I did a few weeks ago where I shared how I made over $800 by using my credit card in just 1 year. But the bottom line is, you can't get to financial security with credit card debt weighing you down. A good rule of thumb is to only use credit cards to buy what you can afford today, and then pay it off immediately. If you can't handle the temptation of charging something pricey to your credit card, there's no shame in avoiding them altogether. Rule number 2 is to save up an emergency fund. An emergency fund is a sum of money that will protect you from any unforeseen financial difficulties. But here's why it falls so early on the list. As of last summer, it's estimated that 25% of Americans have no emergency savings. Imagine you're in this position and you're suddenly hit with medical bills, home repairs, car maintenance, or an extreme scenario like the pandemic, you've lost your job. In order to pay for these expenses, you're forced to max out your credit card, take out a loan, or sell your investments. Your credit card or a loan could send you right back to square one, setting you back for months or years as you catch up on payments. Selling your investments could also be problematic, especially if the markets are down and you're forced to sell at a loss, or if it pushes back your retirement goals any number of years. With an emergency fund, you'll have cash set aside that can get you out of these situations without causing any additional financial burdens. It'll also give you the cushion you need to begin investing your money, because you don't have to worry about needing to liquidate your investments if something comes up. Generally, it's recommended to save between 3 and 6 months of living expenses for your emergency fund. If you want to dig deeper into how to calculate these estimates and where to hold your emergency fund, I've done a whole video on that exact subject. With high interest debt out of the way and the cushion of an emergency fund, it's time to start saving money for your future. And that brings us to rule number 3, which is to save 20% of your income. This 20% comes from the common 50-30-20 rule, which many experts agree is an effective way to budget your money. According to the rule and the experts who back it, 50% of your income goes to necessities, 30% to discretionary or miscellaneous spending, and 20% should be saved. If you don't have an emergency fund yet, this 20% should go towards that first. But after building your emergency fund, you can put most or all of that 20% towards investing for retirement. We'll talk more about investing in a minute, but for most people, 20% is a good number to aim for to ensure you save enough money by the time you retire. Obviously, this will depend slightly on income, because if you make a lot of money, you might need to save less, and vice versa. Similarly, if you want to retire earlier in life, you might want to shoot for a more aggressive savings rate, like 25 or even 30%. However, if you follow the rules we talk about next, 20% should be plenty to secure financial health regardless of your income level. Rule number 4 is don't pay anyone to manage your investments. This means you'll generally want to avoid financial advisors and investing in actively managed funds, which we'll talk more about later. But the reasons for this are pretty simple. These people may not have your best interests at heart, they may not produce the best returns, and either way, they're going to charge you fees every step of the way. There are many cases where financial advisors will push you towards certain investments because it means they get a kickback when you invest into it. In these cases, they may be more focused on getting that commission or management fee than earning you the best possible returns. Pollack's advice is to make your advisor agree to a fiduciary standard, which is essentially a promise that they put your interests before their own. But I think if you follow the rest of these rules, you don't even need to go that route. Additionally, there's overwhelming evidence that active money managers fail to beat the returns of the market on a long-term basis. An analysis in 2020 found that 90% of financial professionals failed to beat the market over a 15-year period. According to investment legend John Bogle, this number was even higher for the 15-year period prior between 1983 and 1998. So when you're considering saving for retirement, which could be as long as a 40-year endeavor, you could be missing out on significant returns by letting someone else pick and choose your investments, rather than putting your money into the entire market via an index fund, which we'll talk more about later. And finally, even if your financial advisor is not guiding you towards their own personal interests, there will still be fees involved. Although these can vary quite a bit, a 1% annual fee is a common figure, and each dollar you pay in fees takes away from the money that it could grow into in the future. According to a study by NerdWallet, a 1% fee can cost over $500,000 over a 40-year period. So clearly, minimizing these fees is in your best interest. And we're very lucky to live in a time where everyone has access to low-cost, hands-off investing without needing to hire a professional. Today, you can open up an investment account with a robo-advisor, which can help you allocate your investments at a fraction of the cost of a real advisor. I personally have experience with the Betterment platform, which charges just 0.25% annually. They'll allocate your money based on your risk tolerance, so you can rest assured you'll get desirable risk-adjusted returns at a low cost. There are also many other options out there if you're interested in going this route. But after the next few rules, you'll be able to handle your investments entirely by yourself without paying any management fees whatsoever. Rule number 5 is max out your tax advantage investment accounts. This is going to include things like IRAs, 401ks, and so on. And it's where you'll be putting the 20% of your income that you're saving. The reason that you should max these out is because if you do so, you'll never have to invest anywhere else in your lifetime. The tax advantages of these accounts are seriously so powerful that maxing out these accounts alone can secure you more wealth in retirement than you'll ever need. So let's take a look at how this works both with IRAs and 401ks. IRAs come in two forms, either a traditional IRA or a Roth IRA. With investments in non-IRA accounts, you invest money after you've paid taxes on earning it. Then, when you sell those investments and withdraw cash, you'll have to pay taxes on any earnings you've accumulated. And obviously, any dollar taken from your investments is one less dollar you'll have in retirement. But IRA accounts allow you to escape taxes either when you're investing upfront or when you retire, all while letting your money grow tax-free. A traditional IRA lets you invest pre-tax income, which means you don't pay taxes on the money you invest. This will save you money upfront, giving you more disposable income during your working years. But you'll have to pay income taxes on the money you withdraw in retirement. A Roth IRA is the opposite. You still pay taxes on the income you use to invest, but you don't have to pay any taxes on your earnings when you withdraw them in retirement. Whether you choose the traditional IRA or the Roth IRA, Both will let your money grow tax-free, so you won't pay taxes on any dividends or capital gains if you choose to trade any of your holdings. And this means your money will grow way faster. Both traditional and Roth IRAs have contribution limits of $6,000 per year for 2021. This means that maxing out the account is a pretty reasonable goal, and should be perfectly doable if you save 20% of your income. And if you start doing this early enough, it could very well be the only investment you ever need to make. To show you how, let's look at the results of an annual $6,000 investment into a Roth IRA starting at 25. A conservative 7% return would grow it into $1.28 million of tax-free money at the age of 65. In a taxable account, with the same $6,000 contributions every year, you'd have just $855,000 because of taxes. That's 50% more money in your Roth IRA because of its tax benefits. Considering that your investments can grow to be worth so much by the time you retire, having this money be 100% tax-free can be a huge advantage, and that's why I love the Roth IRA so much. If you want to learn about this account in more detail, be sure to check out my in-depth video on the Roth IRA. The 401k is a little different because it's an employer-sponsored account that you can only invest in if your job offers it. It can provide either the tax advantages of the IRA or the Roth IRA, which is something you'll have to look into for your situation. Compared to IRAs though, these have much higher contribution limits, currently set at $19,500 for 2021. So this can be good if you have extra money from your 20% savings that you'd like to invest, but it might not be realistic for everybody to max this out entirely. Therefore, the number you should try to max out with a 401k is the employer match contribution. Most employers offer this up to a few percentage points of your salary. For example, my employer offers a 3% match. So for the first 3% of my salary that I invest, they'll match it dollar for dollar. That's an instant 100% return. So this is a really powerful way to build your wealth within this account. But that brings us to rule number 6, which is to invest in low-cost, well-diversified index funds. And this answers the question, where do you invest your money after setting that 20% aside and putting it into your tax-advantaged investment accounts? Index funds, put simply, are a basket of stocks wrapped into a single investment. So by buying a share of an index fund, your money gets instantly diversified into all of the stocks inside of that fund. This is essentially a foolproof strategy for investors, and it's one that you can follow without paying excessive fees, increasing your risk, or missing out on returns. I'll explain how. First, low-cost index funds will protect you from the costs and poor returns of active management, which we discussed earlier. The firms that run mutual funds, which are teams that pick and choose investments from the market, will charge you fees for managing your capital. They also experience tax inefficiencies and the risks that come with actively trading stocks. This is why, like we saw before, over 90% of these actively managed funds produce lower returns than an index fund. Next, index funds minimize risk and guarantee returns by investing into every single stock at once. If you pick an individual stock, there's always the risk that the company fails or at best just fails to produce decent returns. With an index fund, it doesn't matter if a single business or stock goes down, because you're holding hundreds or thousands of other stocks that will continue to deliver returns for your portfolio. You'll also be less likely to trade emotionally, and although index funds may not be as glamorous as stock picking, it is proven to produce better returns over long-term periods. If you want to learn more about index funds, refer to my video summary of the Little Book of Common Sense Investing by John Bogle. Alternatively, you can pick up a copy of the book yourself, which is definitely worth a read. But if you're looking for actionable index fund information, we'll make it really simple. The idea with the index fund is spreading your investment out to as many stocks as possible to minimize risk and capture the returns of the whole stock market. In this sense, you'll want to look at total market index funds. Vanguard is still recognized as the leader in index funds, and they offer many of these at minimal costs. You may want to look into VTI, which invests into the entire US stock market, VXUS, which invests into the entire international stock market, and BND, which invests into the entire bond market. At this point, you just need to worry about your allocation between stocks and bonds. Stocks are generally a little riskier with higher returns, while bonds are safer with lower returns. Younger investors have a longer investing timeline, so you can go heavier into stocks and transition to hold more bonds as you get older. A good rule of thumb is to use your age as an estimate for your bond allocation. For example, I'm 25 years old, which makes my bond allocation 25% of my portfolio, and my stock allocation would be 75% of my portfolio. Or to really make things as simple as possible, you can use a Vanguard Target Date Fund. These automatically allocate your investments into total market stock and bond index funds based on your estimated retirement age, and they'll transition to be heavier into bonds as you get closer to retirement. So if I plan to retire at 65 around the year 2060, I'd invest in the Vanguard Target Retirement 2060 Fund. Invest in this kind of fund in your tax-advantaged retirement accounts, and you're all set. So that brings us to rule number 7, which is to give back. After you're able to implement all of these rules and habits into your financial practices, you should have a sound financial future. And that puts you in a great position to help others get there too. Pollack suggested supporting social insurance programs like Social Security and Medicaid, since he personally benefited from these in his lifetime. Personally, as I'm working towards improving my financial future, I'm proud to share my experience and my learnings with audiences on YouTube. I think both my successes and failures can help others better themselves financially, and I'm looking forward to reaching a point where I can give back in more tangible ways too. But with all that said, I want to give the reminder that this is by no means a perfect blueprint to financial success. The financial index card can give you a great starting point for taking control of your future, but you may want to make some of these rules your own to better fit your goals. For example, I'm personally saving 25% of my income because I want to stay a little bit ahead of schedule for retirement. And while I put most of my investments into index funds in my tax-advantaged accounts, I also experiment with some stock picking in a standard taxable account. But this is because I have extra money to invest after maxing out my investment accounts, and I'm young enough to tolerate the added risk it brings to my overall financial strategy. Now I'd like to hear from you guys. Leave me a comment and let me know how you think my financial index card compares to Pollack's. And if you found this video helpful, please consider subscribing to the channel so you can look forward to more videos like it. I post new videos every week, so take care and I'll see you in the next one.